Hey guys, and welcome to another training webinar with myself, Mike Bayer, CEO and co-founder of Vacation Rental Formula. And today we are going to be looking at how we save the summer for a vacation rental agency. So on the call is myself, Mike Bayer. I'm a former property manager. I actually had my own property maintenance company where I managed several properties kind of on the ground level. And I was also a property owner of my own small vacation rental cottage here in Ontario, Canada. Since then, things have changed in my life a little bit. I'm more focused on the marketing side of the industry. And with that, joining me is my very good friend and business partner and Chief Marketing Officer, Jason Beaton. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing quite well today, quite well. So thanks for having me on, and I'm excited to talk about the kind of some of the details, because we've been asked a lot, some of these questions, some of the details around how we saved this summer for this rental agency.
Yeah, so this all came out on a podcast episode, and if you're not a listener of the podcast, you can find it. It's called the Vacation Rental Success Podcast. You can find it on pretty much everything now: Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. So if you're not yet a listener of the podcast, make sure you go check that out. But we did discuss this for a full hour about we took on a client in 2019, in June 2019, which was about 2 weeks before their high season, and they approached us in a bit of a spin because they had a significant number of weeks still available for the high season. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And just before we do, though, Jason, you got some very pretty certifications here on your welcome page.
Yes, colors, right? Colors and acronyms. Those are all great. Yeah, so I'm an active campaign certified consultant. That means I've gone through the courses and the trainings and the testing necessary to really maximize the active campaign tool, not only just from an X's and O's standpoint, but also from a strategy and consultant standpoint as well, to make sure businesses are using it and it's set up in the way that they can optimize their particular industry or their particular niche. So, and then the Certified Digital Marketing Professional (CDMP) designation was one that was through a company called Digital Marketer, and they're kind of the industry leaders when it comes to digital marketing and customer journey and customer value optimization and everything around that. But there's 8 separate courses and tests and trainings that I had to go through to earn that. But really, that covers everything from traffic to SEO strategies to data and analytics to conversion marketing, which means making sure the right piece of content or the right offer is in front of the right person at the right time. Full funnel optimization, community management, it hit on every aspect of digital marketing for a business from end to end.
And that was one of the things that really kind of put Jason and I together. Was I discovered Jason a few years ago when we were building out the Formula Club membership for the very first time. And I hired Jason to help me with our digital marketing and membership site creation. And we just hit it off so well. So I had the vacation rental industry knowledge side of things, and Jason brought in the digital marketing expertise. And, it was just a really good marriage to be able to provide a really valuable and needed service to vacation rental owners and property managers alike. So what we ended up doing after a few years of working together is we created a special service inside the Vacation Rental Formula called the Big Kahuna service, where we actually almost join a team. If you needed somebody to look after your tech and your marketing, you'd kind of approach us to bring us on to kind of take care of that big side of the business. And that's what happened in this story. So over the next 40 minutes to an hour, we're going to talk about a couple of things that we helped this particular rental agency do, and how it worked and why we chose that strategy. And we're going to cover some really, really important points, including the single most underutilized resource in your marketing arsenal. And this one's going to slap you right in the face because I know you're probably not using it to your full extent. So we're going to talk about that, how to get started with paid traffic and win with great return on investment. So paid traffic is a bit of a scary monster. So we'll talk about how we leverage paid traffic. And for us, it was still something quite new when working with this rental agency, and it proved to be extremely effective. What can you do today to stop people leaving your booking page? This was a real game changer in this story. So I'm looking forward to covering that, and how to master the guest journey and understand how to get your traffic to book time and time again. And really, that's what it comes down to: is how are we how are we leveraging the fact we're utilizing the OTAs to get initial guests, but then how are you getting those guests to come back time and time again and book with you and your brand? So that's really, really important, and that's a big part of the story that we're going to cover today. But before we do that, let's have a little bit of a chat about what happened in the spring and summer of 2019. It was a crazy beginning to the year, wasn't it, Jay?
Yeah, it really was. We saw a lot of shifts and a lot of changes in the industry all at one time.
Yeah, and it really became apparent, and we saw it on the forums, and everybody was talking about it, that the bookings went down significantly at the beginning of 2019. It was a bit of a cross industry panic, and there still does not appear to be a specific reason for that. Why is it that bookings have slowed down? As it turned out, like now we're at the end of 2019, things did pick back up again. And the trend that we were starting to see is that guests were just booking closer to the vacation time. So that period between booking and actually an actual occupancy was becoming shorter and shorter and shorter. So a lot of property management companies who are used to seeing really good solid bookings 2 to 3 months out, it was literally a week or two before. Like, people were really moving to the last minute bookings this year for whatever reason. So that's how this story came about. Is that Jason and I were approached? We just began to start promoting our big Kahuna service, and we were approached by this rental agency in a spin, because they were 2 weeks. So this was the middle of June, and they were 2 weeks before the start of the high season. Once the schools kick out and everybody's off for the summer, and all the properties should be fully booked at that point. And we got this call for help. It's like, what do we do? We have, I think at the time, I think they were 60% down on previous year. Does that sound about right, Jay?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Bottom line is they were down a lot.
Yeah, it was down a lot, and it was not just down on bookings. It was down on traffic to the website. It was down just across the board, and there was no significant changes to the business. It really just seemed to be whatever was happening as a trend in the industry was really starting to impact them, and it was panic time, because they had owners who were coming to them complaining, what's happening with this summer? Why don't I have the bookings? Do I need to go elsewhere? And you can imagine, knowing that this particular company has nearly 200 properties, it becomes an incredibly stressful time. So we took a step back, and it's like, okay, let's dig in. Let's take a look at this business. Let's take a look, see where the problems are, and see what we can do to kind of help build around the framework they already had. And I think that's important about this story is this company was already doing well. Like, year on year on year, they've been doing very, very well. But there are a lot of holes in their system. And that's what we wanted to kind of really look at is, first of all, why is there less traffic coming to the website? How can we rectify that? And then once they're coming to the website, what is it they're doing in the website? Are they actually moving around? Are they booking? Are they showing an interest? Are they sharing their contact details? All of those things we took into consideration when we first took on this project. And that's really where we kicked off. And so we always step back and look at the big picture. And we basically had a target of number of weeks that we wanted to have booked before the end of September, the beginning of September, which was traditionally the end of the high season. And so that's what we aimed for. Is we actually gave them a target of a 50% success on the maximum number of properties that they could, the maximum number of vacancies that they had, and that would actually match their previous year. So that was pretty good, considering we were working with a significant drop in their usual traffic. So that was where we got started. Jay, do you want to cover this part of the customer journey, just talking about moving the guests through?
Yeah. So the customer journey. If you guys have been listening to anything we've been talking about over the last few years, you'll hear this term a lot, the customer journey. And for us for this particular client, we really jumped in first to the analytics to figure out, okay, where's the drop in traffic? Where's it coming from? And we found that one of their major referral partners, if you want to call it that, had a dip in traffic as well. So attracting new new guests and new potential guests it became a huge need right off the bat. Then, of course, once they get to your website, so many businesses stop right there. They really don't focus or shift their focus to converting that new website traffic, website visitor into a lead, meaning capture their information so you can remarket to them in the future. So, and then that's the next step that we really kind of understood was this particular client didn't have the various lead magnets or call to action or really anything to help drive more conversions, and thus their close ratio is lower. But at the same time, looking at the data and analytics, we realized that the checkout, not checkout, but the booking page where a guest actually books and pays, only had about a 15% conversion rate. So put that into real numbers, for every 100 visitors, only 15 actually booked. You had 85 visitors leave the page, right? So that we knew that right off the bat, that was going to be another huge need, is trying to increase that conversion rate before we did anything. And then, again, once you get all this and the customers and the guests has come, they've stayed and they've enjoyed, they've had a fantastic time. It's your job now to be kind of top of mind in that delightment phase, to make sure they have that great experience, and then to continue to follow up with them in the future, to that way you can promote your other properties or to come back and stay with you again.
Yeah, and so what we normally do is, when we're looking at this customer journey, we have this kind of strategy in place where we have these kind of 7 areas of focus that kind of all fit into different parts of that customer journey. So we start off with, looking at the website itself. What can we do to the website to make it more appealing? How are we going to use the website's existing functionality to be able to capture more leads? All those kinds of things. And we're going to talk about all 7 of these steps in the strategy through the course of the session today. So website development, lead generation. So email marketing and email automation are 2 very different things. So email marketing is when you're sending out broadcast emails to your email list. Whereas email automation are emails that are sent out automatically based on an action that your lead has taken. Whether it's initially giving you their contact information, whether or not they booked, and you want to send them the automatic deliverables to allow them to get to the property. So that's the kind of differentiation between email marketing and email automation. Reservation automation is, typically we'll have PMS system, we have some form of booking engine that we're using. How can we leverage, the different aspects of that booking engine to make sure it's working for our business, not working against us. And that was this is a big part of the story we're going to talk about. The data analytics is, once you're doing, as Jason was saying, is the analyzation of what is happening through this customer journey. Each of these steps, we've got to make sure that we're plugging the holes and make sure people aren't leaving and going elsewhere to book. You have this carousel that you have your guests on. You want to make sure they're not stepping off the carousel and they're just enjoying the ride and they keep coming back time and time again. And then last, we look at traffic generation. Now, what's interesting is, lastly, we look at traffic generation. But in the story we're talking about with this particular rental agency, we actually switched this order up. And they were in a numbered order there in terms of how we normally do our work. Traffic generation normally comes last because there are a lot of things to put in place to ensure that when you're spending that money, your system is there and it's working, it's ready to capture leads and make sure we can convert them into bookings. If you don't have all those systems in place and you just start spending money, then or spending money to drive traffic to your website, then those people are going to arrive, that traffic's going to arrive, and they're not going to do anything. It's literally just throwing money into the wind. So that's why this is normally the typical order that we work with a new client within the big Kahuna. But because this client already had an existing business, they were doing well, they didn't have big problems beforehand. It literally was a significant drop in traffic to the website, and also that we noticed some immediate holes that need patched. Traffic was arriving at the site, but we weren't actually able to capture those leads. So we changed the order around. So traffic generation first, lead generation, email marketing, website development, and the rest came after. We probably actually bumped up data analytics probably under traffic generation because that's pivotal to anytime you're doing any kind of paid traffic, you need to be monitoring that return on investment. But we'll talk about this a little bit more detail towards the end. So going back to what we're going to be covering for the next 40 minutes, this is the kind of 7 steps we're going to be going through. So kicking off with website development, and this for Jason and I, when we see a new client or we do our initial consultation, one of the things that really stands out for us sometimes is the inaccessibility of a website to its owner. And this could be simply because the website is actually part of your PMS system. So it's it's a very rigid, very clunky, very standardized website that you really can't do anything with. You are locked into whatever the PMS company has designed for you. And that is it. And Jason, you'll agree with me here that having that ability to control your website yourself is pivotal to your business. It's so important.
Yeah, and absolutely, and you're not tied to the fate of that particular company either. Even though they may be a large platform, a large company today, who knows where it's going to be in 3 years? The industry is seeing more and more mergers and buyouts and all sorts of stuff. So again, taking your business into your own hands is always a good thing.
And that's not just the actual framework of the website. I mean, we've actually have another client who's not in the vacation rental business that we started working with recently, and they have a long time web designer they've had for a very long time, and he is very inflexible to any kind of input from anybody else, and that is very challenging. That's very, very challenging when you have. For Jason and I, we have a particular skill set where we need to have functionality of the website, but the actual guy who's the designer or the guy who's built the website over time doesn't want to make any changes to suit what it is that you need, because he feels it's going to affect what he's built. So I think that's also worth looking at too, is if you do have a web guy or a web company, make sure that you're not completely locked into them. Make sure you have redundancy, because sometimes when that relationship falls apart, you may be stuck with a website that you don't know how to use. So out of all the things that I could recommend that a property management business or a single vacation rental owner does, is to learn the basics of WordPress, learn the basics of actually operating your own website, and being able to create a blog post, how to create a new page on your website. These are skills that you must have in this day and age, when you're operating a business that relies on the functionality and operations of working in the online space. And specifically, we talk about the ability to be able to create landing pages. The relevance. I'll let Jason actually explain the relevance of a landing page and why it's so important to have one as part of your website.
Yeah, landing pages are so critically important because it helps streamline the flow and remove barriers for a potential guest to make that booking. So for instance, if you decide you're going to run a new campaign for let's say New Year's, right? You're going to run a New Year's campaign. You don't want to send traffic straight to, especially if you're a property management company where you've got multiple properties. You don't want to send them to this property search page, because too many things can get in the way and you can get lost in that, versus a stylized page just talking about the promotion, right? So a lot of times we'll talk about kind of following the trail or the ad that's sent from what you're promoting to what they're seeing. And even if you're an individual owner, be able to throw up these marketing pages, these landing pages that are designed for these promotions you're running, can really help streamline and convince that guest coming to the page to go ahead and click through and see the property itself, or whatever the next call to action is.
The other important thing is being able to focus the attention of the person who's looking through your website. So let's say you're actually doing, and we do this quite often when we're talking about doing a marketing calendar for the year. When we are looking to do in early January, we start to do Valentine's Day promotions. If you're a property management company and you have a good range of properties, you have properties that can sleep 14, 15, 16, and you have properties that sleep 2 or 4. For a Valentine's Day weekend, do you think you're going to be promoting the large properties or the small properties? I think it makes sense that typically for Valentine's, if you're very much focusing on a Valentine's promotion, it's going to be couples or 2 couples maybe getting away for the weekend for a romantic weekend. So to send them just directly to your homepage, where they're then going to have to go browse around your site, they lose interest. If you can't capture their interest quickly when they get to the site, they will move off somewhere else. They have it in their mind that they want to book something for Valentine's, but it's too difficult to find it. So with your promotions, if you actually create a landing page that has, those, you maybe have 6 or 7 properties that are perfect for couples getting away, then pull those properties together on that one page. it doesn't have to be full descriptions. It can be a simple thumbnail, basic, how many does it sleep, some basic amenities, and a button to push to go to for more details on those properties. And it might sound like a little thing, but on those buttons, make sure it's opening up a new window or a new tab. So that way they're not navigated away from that landing page. It's a really, really simple thing to do, is for them to click forward to one property and then not be able to get back to the landing page they were on. So this keeps people on your website, and it keeps the focus on what it is that you're offering, rather than them getting bored and wanting to go off to another business and see what they have. Now, lastly, with the websites, one of the things that we see all the time, and this is a little unforgivable, because you should have received emails from whoever your website hosting is, or if you had somebody design your website, they should have done this already, is not having the security on your website. And what I mean by that is making sure you have the HTTPS security on your site, because what's happening is if you still have the HTTP URL tag, then it's actually showing up for your visitors as a website that is unsecured and unsafe. You may not see that because you maybe saw it for the very first time, thought you were going to get around to it, you clicked ignore, and because you keep going back on the same browser, it won't present itself to you every time. Anything you want to add on that, Jake? 'Cause I'm not like fully competent on that.
Well, yeah, it's twofold. Number one is Google's actually prioritizing secure sites over non-secure sites. So from an SEO perspective, you definitely want that. But also the security and peace of mind, not only for your guests during checkout, but also you, making sure that you're not just inadvertently throwing your data out there for anyone to see.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so moving on to the lead generation side. So this particular client we were looking at, their website, it was very functional. They didn't have a lot of landing pages, but we started working on creating landing pages for them so we could focus. We actually created 3 specific personas to focus on. We focused on couples, we focused on small families, and then we focused on large family groups. So we created 3 separate landing pages that covered properties that kind of fit into those 3 personas. So when we created ads, and when we created lead magnets, and when we created any kind of marketing material, it needed to fit in to those 3 personas. And so that way we're actually being very specific with our marketing efforts to make sure we're hitting one of those 3. And that goes into the actual lead generation side of things as well. And here we actually implemented 2 really, really valuable tools that I would recommend you take a look at. And the first one is ConvertBox. And I know Jason, I can hear him squiggling around in his seat when I say that word. Yeah, this is one of my favorite tools, and I'm going to let Jason kind of cover the ins and outs of ConvertBox.
Yeah, ConvertBox is such a fantastic tool because it can really hone in a guest focus or a website visitor's focus. So instead of coming to your homepage and kind of trying to click around and possibly get lost, just as you see there on the image, little box can pop up with a welcome video, or in the case of the way we used it to find out, to kind of segment, if you will, what the visitor was looking for. Were they looking for pets? Were they looking for how soon out were they looking to book? And then what size of a party did they have? Did they have a party of less than 4, a party of 4 to 10, and then 12 plus, something to that effect. But by doing that, and you see the little buttons on an image, it would ask additional questions, right? So it's a form in the sales process and sales cycle. You get micro commitments for any type of closing the sale technique, and these buttons a lot of times play straight to that, where you're getting little micro commitments as it continues. But ultimately, what we were able to do was, as traffic came to the website through this mini quiz, we were able to send them to a landing page that was designed for that particular adventure they were looking for. So if they were looking for just a few nights, we sent them to a landing page that was designed with properties laid out in such a way that it was very clean, and they knew that all these properties here were just for a few nights. If they're looking for long term, we sent them to a different page. And if they were looking for a combination of any of those answers with really big groups, we sent them to a page with just a couple options that could accommodate those groups. So again, it was kind of segmenting your leads. It's very interactive. It's very engaging. And you can even, once that guest has booked, you can turn this off automatically using some of the tools that we have from an integration standpoint, but it's highly customizable. So it's great. It's a fantastic tool. And most importantly as well, for those of you who don't have your own website yet, you can still use ConvertBox on almost any other website because it's just a little script that you add. And you don't have to install anything or anything like that. So it makes it highly, highly flexible. And you're able to use it really almost across the web.
And one of the things that I really like about ConvertBox too is that you might be saying to yourself, well, I have filters and I have a search engine that people love to use. The thing is about the filters and the search engine on your website is it's very passive. You're relying on the traffic to come in and be motivated to go and surf around your site. And you might be thinking, well, they're coming to my website to look for something anyway. But the thing is, you're competing with so many other businesses out there, all of which are trying to divert the attention of your potential guests. So what ConvertBox does is it does exactly that. It diverts their attention specifically to something on your website. And rather than being like a passive search engine, it's like a passive search function. It is active. So you're actually reaching out, almost holding your person by the hand and walking them through your website to help them find what it is that they're looking for. And I absolutely love that side of this. It takes your website and makes it much more personal. It makes it much more connected to the person who's using it. I mean, the user experience is fantastic when you use this really well.
Yeah, and then just real quick, back on that topic too. Holy cow, I completely forgot.
That's okay. I was talking about holding a hand of your guest through the website. I was talking about.
Oh yeah, so you're able
to
from the analytics. There we go. Sorry, wow, complete brain lapse there. From the analytics side of that tool, when a lot of times we have an assumption of who comes to our website, who our target audience is, things like that. From the data that tool presents, you can actually see exactly here what you see on the screen, the numbers. So how many people coming through have large parties? How many people coming through are looking to stay within 2 weeks, are looking to stay within the next 30 days, are looking to stay within 2 months out? Information like that can help fuel your marketing efforts going forward.
Yeah, it's very, very impressive to see the power of this when it goes into effect. And I love this whole aspect of segmenting your traffic and being able to move them, with some very simple questions and some simple buttons that literally take them less than 10 to 15 seconds to do. Within 10 to 15 seconds, which is the typical attention span of somebody visiting your website, you are able to present them with exactly the information they were looking for when they came to the site. Just move them through like a mini quiz like this. So let's say they pick option A, that it'll show them another box, and then you'll ask them another question, and they'll pick option B. And then after that, that they are a small group, they're looking for a romantic getaway, and specifically looking for a surprise. Something like that. So you can really you create what it is. You create the system to show you the data that you want to see. So that way you can present them with the right things on the website. So yes, ConvertBox, that's a must. And if you get the opportunity to go and check that out, we do know we're recording this in late 2019. We believe at the end of 2019, ConvertBox is switching from a lifetime purchase offer where you just pay once to a subscription model. So if you're going to think about getting into ConvertBox, definitely take advantage of that before the end of 2019. If not, it's still, even if it is a subscription, it's an incredible piece of software. You're not going to be disappointed using it. And it would help us out. We have an affiliate link with ConvertBox, so you can use vacationrentalformula.com/ConvertBox. And that'll give us a little commission if you head across there and use their product. The other one we use with this client is live chat. Now, it may seem similar to ConvertBox, but they're actually very different in functionality. And live chat we kind of recommend more for larger property management businesses that have the staff to manage it. But this allows you to have a pop-up on your site which allows your web visitor to engage with a real person. So ConvertBox, you can set that up to provide them with the information automatically based on some simple cues and questions that you ask them and their responses. But with live chat, quite often these days, I talk about the 10 to 15 seconds you have to grab somebody's attention. Sometimes people just don't want to look. So if you have the ability to staff live chat and actually have it jump up and say, hey, let's talk about your vacation. What is it that you're looking for? And they respond with chat now. The very first thing they're going to do is they're going to click chat now as it shows on the screen there. and it's going to pop up with to provide their name and email address. So immediately you're collecting their email, so you now have the ability to market to them after they've left. And then you can connect them with one of your staff. And from there, you can navigate them literally hand in hand with an actual person who wants to engage with you. And that's a huge step. And with the rental agency that we were working with, we saw a huge turn in lead generation, as well as the actual the conversions we were getting from live chat to booking was very, very high. Okay, so moving forward, anything you want to add on live chat there, Jason?
No, I just think it's the biggest thing is, like you said, make sure that you're available, or that you've got a team member or staff member there, ready to answer those questions.
Something that our clients actually had that was very beneficial is they had a virtual assistant based in the Far East, out in the Philippines. So when we're based here in Ontario, Canada, so they're based here in Ontario, Canada. So when their team was asleep, their virtual assistant was able to take over the live chat late in the evening and basically monitor it throughout the night. Now, obviously, there wouldn't be too many people reaching out in live chat in the middle of the night. But again, missed opportunities. If you have people on a night shift who are, surfing around for a vacation, and your live chat is actually open and available with staff, that makes you stand out considerably from the competition. And that's how you secure bookings over and above your competition for sure. Another thing we did was looking at the conversions and specifically people leaving the website. No matter what, how good your website is, people are going to click off and leave for whatever reason. It could be they haven't found what they're looking for. It could be that they have found what they're looking for, but maybe there's been a barrier to them actually making the booking. Maybe they can't find their credit card. Maybe their kids are running around their feet and they just take care of the kids. Maybe their lunch break is over at work. So how do you reach out to those people to let them know that it's important for them to take action now rather than wait and do it another day or later on that day when they're probably going to forget? They've been looking at 20, 30 properties. How are they going to remember your particular property? I mean, we can do that with retargeting marketing through Facebook and Google, but why not get them to book right now before they leave? So something that we suggested to our client was actually to have an exit intent incentive. So what this is that and this was only activated on the booking page, because initially, Jason mentioned this at the top of the session, was that there was an 85% exit rate from the booking page. Now, we did discover why this was, and we'll talk about that shortly. But one of the things we wanted to do was to convince people was not to click away from the booking page, because there was an incentive for them to book now. So what would happen is if they moved their cursor away from the off the live part of their browser and tried to click the back button or tried to click elsewhere or tried to go and click the X button to close down the window, this pop-up would show up and offer them a gift card. It wasn't $100. I think we did $25 Amazon gift card if they booked within the next 10 minutes. And we put a little countdown timer on there. And we did see a huge increase. I think over the course of the summer, I think we had about 100 to 150 separate uses of the gift card. Was that about right?
Yeah, that was about right, and it literally doubled their conversion rate. So they went from about a 15% conversion rate to over a 30% conversion rate. So again, that's capturing double the amount of bookings that they were previously capturing based on the data that we saw.
Now, and obviously, we're going to come back to this booking page again shortly, because this is a key part of the story. So they were having a 15% booking rate on people who are getting to the booking page and actually completing their booking. And we'll talk about why it was so low. But to increase, go on.
That it was definitely a chore to even get to the booking page. So the fact they were there meant they wanted to book, right? So this was definitely a sore spot in that flow.
Yeah, and the fact that they had that intent to book and something got in the way. So we wanted to kind of show them that if you just gave us that extra 5 minutes to get this booking done, you can have a gift card as well. It really did make a good difference, and it was a good start to fixing what was a major problem in this client's business. Jay, do you want to take this one, the email marketing side of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Active Campaign is kind of our um, email or business automation tool of choice. I've got to kind of get out of the habit of calling it email automation because that kind of pigeonholes it, but it is really a business automation tool. So all these leads that we were capturing, um, they all funneled into the Active Campaign software, where we were able to follow up with them with email to confirm what it is that they wanted, to deliver said Amazon gift card. We were able to track, as soon as they gave us their name and email address, we were able to track which properties they visited the most on. We were able to track if they got to the checkout page or not, and didn't purchase. So again, that kind of they got to the reservation page and didn't create a booking. So they went down to kind of what we typically call abandoned cart style series. But Active Campaign was definitely the hub of all that, and where we'll also use, we create a marketing calendar and start and send out email broadcast to the full your full contact list, things like that. It's all done through Active Campaign, as well as emergency updates such as fire bans, right? So for this particular client, they had a fire ban that was out on their property, so they needed to very quickly make sure that the notification is sent out. So we were able to use text messages for that all through the Active Campaign tool.
And I think one of the interesting things to highlight here is the fact that the company already had Active Campaign. This is something that they already were using. Were already collecting their leads and their email addresses into their email list here on Active Campaign. But what was pretty surprising, I mean, they had quite a substantially large email list. But this was the huge mistake they were making, and probably what you're making too. And we talked about this at the top. The number one thing that always blows me away is it's like, we're not collecting coins, people. We're not collecting coins to put in a little envelope and just sit there and look at them. The reason we have these email addresses is to nurture them. These email addresses are contacts. They're people that they're waiting to be sold more vacation units by your business. They've given over their contact information to you because they trust you, and they're willing to receive information from you. So please contact them. I think with this particular company, it had been nearly 4 or 5 months since the last email was sent out to their email list. And the longer you leave it, when you do then send out an email to your email list, you'll get more and more unsubscribes because people are just not used to hearing from you. They'll forget who you are. So that's why we recommend, with your email broadcasts, and the content of these broadcasts needs to be of value. So it's not just to talk about your properties. It's not just to talk about your business, even though there is a time and place for that. Where you can include, new properties that have come on board. You can include, updates, and it needs to be something that that your the people on your email list will be actually interested to hear about. More often than not, what you want to be sharing is new content about your vacation destination. Especially if you have content on your website. Every single time you produce a new blog post or a new piece of content, share it with people on your email list. So our biggest recommendation is that you shouldn't be emailing, or you should be emailing your email list no less than once per month. And that is the absolute minimum, because even 4 weeks between emails is quite a long time. So what we tend to say, between 2 to 3 times a month it should be about average. Between 1 to 2 times a month, it should be about average. And as you're ramping up to the time when you get the most bookings, traditionally, you can begin to ramp that up, because if people are booking with you, they're also booking with your competitors. So you need to stand out. Not only do you need to stand out through paid traffic, but you also need to stand out in the email boxes as well. So as you're coming into the busy booking season, begin to ramp that up to twice a week. And that will become a lot more prevalent to your email list, and it's going to put them more in the forefront of their mind. And then lastly, like when you're getting right into the peak of the season, and you're trying to, you got a lot, you're trying to fill those vacant weeks, then you can jump it up to once per week. Expect to have people unsubscribe. Don't be upset that you're doing too many emails if people are unsubscribing. If they're unsubscribing, they're never going to book with you anyway. I know that seems, I hear that all the time, and it seems quite arrogant to think that, that you shouldn't change your business model. If you're getting a substantially large number of unsubscribes, like more than 4 or 5%, then you should be looking at maybe changing your practices. But if you're emailing people on a fairly regular basis and you're keeping your unsubs down to kind of around 1% or less per email, then you're doing good. And that's really what's to be expected. You'll have some people who just aren't even opening the emails. So every couple of months, you actually want to be able to kind of clean your email list. We're not going to go into that too much detail right now, but there is a way you can do that to actually get people to engage with you. And if they don't engage over a certain week, 2 weeks, based on a particular automated campaign you can run, then you can just remove them from email. Anything you want to add to that there, Jay?
No, that's a pretty good summation of email marketing. And yep, because we're going to talk about email automation here in a few minutes.
Oh, I lost you for a second. Are you still there?
Oh, yep, I'm still here. So
right, there you go.
We're good.
So let's talk about, we keep talking about this booking page. So reservation automation covers not only, the deliverables that get sent out to somebody after they booked, but it also is in reference to, the actual booking functionality itself, the actual booking system. Now, typically, a lot of this is going to be controlled by your PMS. The OTAs have their own version. Your PMS that you use for Book Direct will be doing that as well. But you have the ability to change how many hoops your potential guest has to jump through before they secure your property. And if there's anything I cannot be clearer about, is to remove as many barriers as you possibly can. The last few years we've been talking about, book now buttons. The fact that some people refuse to switch to book now. And the fact that, you have to put in an email request and then be approved and all that kind of stuff. You know what? No, because there is too much competition. At the end of the day, get their money first. Get the money up front, and then you can always refund their money afterwards if they don't fit the bill. That is the most important thing. Get their money. You have their commitment. The decision, the psychology that goes through somebody's mind when they're making a purchasing decision, there are a lot of steps that they go through. And when you actually have them in the position that they're willing to give you money, but then you're putting barriers in the way to make it more difficult for them, they will go elsewhere. So this is what we discovered with this client. So we talked about initially when we first started working with them, they out of 100 people going to their booking page, so they found a property, they found the dates, everything is looking good, and they say, okay, I'm gonna click the book now button. When they arrived at the booking page, which is part of the PMS, so they actually leave the WordPress-based website and enter into the PMS hosted side of the website. They're then put into the booking page. And the booking page, I'm not kidding you, would take 20 to 25 minutes to fill out. I'm not exaggerating there, am I, Jay?
Well, maybe not completely that long, but it definitely should not take as long as it could. On average, probably 10 minutes plus with what we saw on the data side of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was very extensive. Full names and addresses or names of every single person staying at the property and ages, and I get it. Like, that information is important, but it's not important to take their money. So what you do is, as we've listed here, there are 4 basic things that you need. You need their name, a name and email address. And you should already have their email address if they've been through your marketing system. But name and email address. You need the actual property that they're choosing, the dates that they're booking, and then get them to pay. That is it. That is all you want to present to them. And then once they have paid, then you can send them the full information that you want from them afterwards. And you can say, we hold the property for you for X number of days until we receive the full information package, at which point we can confirm your booking. So, what's that phrase? Putting the carrot before the donkey, or the cart before the horse, sorry?
Yeah, cart before the horse. That may be more appropriate.
Yeah, sorry. It's been a long day. But yeah, putting the cart before the horse. So make it easy, make it super easy. And we worked with our client, and we changed up their booking form. And we took them from a 15% conversion rate. And what did we end up at, Jay?
33 to 35, depending on the month now.
And I thought we were up a lot higher than that with I thought it was the gift card just gave us the 30%. I thought we were upwards of 50%.
What we saw was a lot less time spent on page, and a lot less claiming of the gift card because they didn't have to, because they were filling out the form to move forward.
Yeah. So yeah, it was there was a big difference, and so I would highly recommend you take a look at your existing systems. How much information are you asking for up front, and is this a sore spot in your system? Is this somewhere where people are exiting? That they may not be exiting because they're annoyed with you; they're just exiting because they're very busy and they don't have the time to fill up that form right now. So as again, just make things as easy as possible for your potential guests, and you will see a better return on investment. All right, the email automation side of it. So Jay, I'll leave this one to you. This is part of your active campaign, baby.
Yeah, so the email automation side is, a lot of times you hear the phrase drip sequences or email sequences, things like that. That's what email automation is. And what specifically, for the most part, you're taking a brand new lead, and you're giving them information to entice them to create that booking or to close and create and become a customer. So email automation allows you to, based on the contact's actions, right? So the actions they take on the website, the actions they take on a mini quiz, for instance, or any combination thereof, allows you to send customized emails straight to that one person, not your entire list, not your entire database, but that one person with relevant information to what they just did and where you want them to go. So a perfect example would be in the in that Amazon gift card scenario, right? That we talked about earlier. If they opted in for that, but didn't actually complete their booking within that 30 minutes, I think that time frame, within 5 minutes they got an email encouraging them to keep going. Right, within, I think it was at the 15 or 20 minute timer mark. It was kind of a last chance. Hey, don't lose your $25 Amazon gift card. Complete your booking now. Right. So that's the scenario where those two emails that was delivered to every customer who signed up for that Amazon gift card but didn't complete a booking. Now, if they completed the booking, they didn't get those emails, but that's all part of our email automation. That's just a real quick, simple within the time frame. I think 30 or 45 minutes. If you had to do that for every single person to increase conversions, there's no way you were going to be able to do that. So that's the power of email automation, is to create these small sequences or automations to help drive a customer from that, becoming that lead, all the way into actually closing and booking that sale or booking that reservation.
And that image there on the screen is just a kind of little visual of what it looks like inside Active Campaign when you're setting up one of these these drip sequences. This is a very, very, very basic one where you have an the automation will be activated by a particular action that your contact has taken, whether or not they've you had them subscribe to a particular list, and then because they've been subscribed to that list, then they'll get that first welcome message. It's a pre-written email. You go in there and you edit it to read whatever you want it to read. And it's very important that it's an evergreen email. It's something that can be, it will make sense when somebody receives that email at any time of the year. And then you can see there it says wait for 1 day. So the system will then wait for 1 day until it sends the next one. It's very, very simple functionality. I mean, you can be as simple or as complex as you want with Active Campaign. It's really a beautiful program to work with. And then we move on to what was, again, a huge part of the story with this client is actually monitoring the data to see where these holes were in the business. We were invested. Because we put traffic generation at the front of this plan, because they had an existing system in place, the data analytics was really important for us to get right, to ensure that we were able to see where people were coming into the system, where they were leaving, and to be sure that we were able to then go in and plug those holes, or figure out why it was that they were leaving the system. So I mean, we use this tool called Funnelytics, which is absolutely fantastic because I like it. 'Cause I'm very visual. I'm not very good with spreadsheets. So this particular one, you can see the picture on the left there. You can actually, just with small icons and arrows, you can see what your traffic is doing. You can see what your conversion rate is. You can actually track the amount of money being spent through the system. It's a very, very effective way of being able to see that quite easily. And then Jason, I know you work with on the data side with our clients on with Databox. Do you want to explain a little bit about Databox?
Yeah, Databox is a way to visually see the numbers in a lot more simplified version. So, for instance, Google Analytics, it's listed there as well as number 5. It takes some getting used to seeing what you need to see or how to find it and things like that. Databox really just it connects with all sorts of different services, ActiveCampaign, Google Analytics, you name it, it pretty much integrates with all of them. But it pulls that specific information straight off and puts into a dashboard. So it's whether the dashboard is numbers, it's colors, it's a pie chart, whatever, you're able to display those pertinent business continuity numbers all day long, any day, morning, evening, whatever. So it's highly flexible in that regard. So typically what we'll do is we'll create a dashboard for each client for daily use, and then we on the back end we take a deeper dive into those numbers as the marketing experts.
And then the last on the list there is Google Analytics. And the nice thing about Google Analytics is it's free. Our client was already had the Google Analytics code installed on the website. But something that we are finding quite often with new clients is that the Google Analytics code is not yet installed. And this is really basic stuff. Even if you have no idea about how to use Google Analytics, or this falls into the same category as Facebook and Facebook and Google. You can take those two codes, even if you have no intention of doing Facebook advertising, or you don't know how to create Facebook audiences. The same with Google. If you don't know how to use the Google Analytics to kind of monitor your traffic, at least have your web guy or somebody get those codes installed in your site, because what you're able to do is actually track or actually collect the data on those people who are visiting your website, even if they don't give you any email. That's really, really vital for you to be able to remarket to them in the future if you want to. One of the most valuable things we talk about, and we'll talk about in a second with paid traffic, is having a warm audience. A warm audience is people who have been to your website already. They already are familiar with your brand, but they haven't actually taken any action yet. They haven't purchased, or they haven't booked a vacation with you yet. So what you can do is you can actually put advertising dollars into that warm traffic, and you're more likely to get a conversion from that because they're already familiar with you. They're already familiar with your brand. And we know, how many ads get presented to us on Google and Facebook now. If you don't recognize the ad, you're less likely, or the conversion rate is a lot lower than you would if you had actually already visited the site. And Amazon's a great example of this, where you go shopping for something on Amazon, you're browsing and you don't purchase it, but then that item gets presented to you all over the web, because there are Google ads presented to you because of your actions within Amazon. So it's a great tool to use. Not necessarily part of the data analytics part, but you can actually use that data. You can analyze that data within Facebook and Google. So that's something to look into. So lastly, traffic generation. So again, we're talking about this lastly, but with our client in this story, we actually went to traffic generation first, because that's actually where they were, where the business was not failing, but struggling. So as I just mentioned, we tend to focus on warm traffic first. And the reason being is, as I said, the conversion rate is going to be a lot higher. You're going to get much better return on investment. But the main thing is to ensure that warm traffic is actually going to something specific. And we talked about having landing pages. So what you're going to do, and what we did with our client, and we talked about this, we had the 3 personas. We had the couple, we had the small family, and we had the large family group. So we were presenting ads specifically to people who had shown an interest in those kinds of properties, but then not chosen to book. So we would present the ads focusing on the small property to somebody who was already browsing through the small properties on the website, and it just helps to bring them back. Helps to bring them back to the website and get some refocused. And especially if they hadn't found the landing page the first time, when we create the landing page and be able to present, basically give them a showroom of properties that fit what they were already looking for anyway, it just makes their decision-making process that much easier, when they're not distracted by a whole bunch of other properties as well. We really like cold traffic needs to be something that you move towards only when you have a solid lead capture system in place. Because we talked about this before, is that you can spend a lot of money very, very quickly. But if you don't have some means of capturing those people or those email addresses when they come to your website, you're literally throwing money into the wind. So it's really, really important to do that. Anything you want to add on that, Jay?
Yeah, it's kind of like those billboards. If you're driving down the road and you see a bunch of billboards for a particular company, there's no way to track it. All you're doing is doing brand recognition at that time. And there is a place and time for that. But in our scenarios, most of the time, unless you're a larger property management company, branding takes a secondary backseat to conversions and leads and actual bookings. So, cold traffic, and it really, you don't want to drive traffic until you have a way to optimize that traffic, or else you're going to be your ROI or your return on ad spend isn't going to be nearly as high. But it's really, really important on cold traffic because you're trying to appeal to an audience that's never seen you before, never heard of you before. So you really want to make sure that your lead capture techniques, your landing pages, all that's really buttoned up in a tip-top shape before you decide to go into cold traffic.
So the other thing about not cold traffic, about traffic generation is that it can be very intimidating. I remember first getting into it and just seeing how quickly money just evaporates out of your Facebook ads account and your Google account. It's actually kind of terrifying. And if you're not confident about getting into managing your own ad campaigns, I highly recommend you hire an ad manager. These are guys and girls who literally do this every single day. They have a really good handle on demographics. They can look at your existing data and can really nail down who are the people who are already coming to your site. And I've seen this before, actually, when you have a persona, somebody who you think you're marketing to, and the data that's being shown in Google Analytics is saying those people are not coming to your website. And that's can be a massive game changer for a business when you change your paid traffic to actually fit the audience who are already finding you in the first place. So definitely consider hiring an ad manager, or if you really are gung ho, or you have a member of your team who is your marketing person, and you want them to get better at managing the paid traffic side of things. We talked at the beginning about Digital Marketer, which is one of the leading training resources online for digital marketing. They have a paid traffic mastery course. We're not affiliated with them, but this is part of the training that Jason took as part of his certified digital marketing professional course. And we would highly recommend it. It's very, very in-depth. They update it quite frequently. And you can check that out on that link right there. So digitalmarketer.com/LP/training/paid-traffic-mastery. A big mouthful there. We've had the slide up for a while, so hopefully you've written that down. So everything we did for this client was to focus on that customer journey. We took a look at what they had existing, what framework they had in place. We patched the holes. We added more traffic in the front. And then we wanted to make sure that the close was effective. And everything tied in together. Within the 8 weeks we had, or the 10 weeks we had the contract, we actually brought them up to slightly above what they were at the previous year. And when you compare that to the traffic they were receiving without the paid traffic, and that's another nice thing about Google Analytics, is you can actually segregate the traffic you're receiving from paid traffic versus organic traffic. Their organic traffic was down significantly. And if it wasn't for the traffic we were adding, and then also the conversion rate that we had significantly increased, they would have been way down. So the fact that we actually came out slightly above what they had the previous year, they were ecstatic. And as we said, when you're looking at the emergency strategy, you do have to change things up a bit. Typically, we do like to focus on paid traffic last because we want to have all the systems in place. But yeah, this was an emergency situation, and that's why we focus on the paid traffic first. Anything you want to wrap up with there, Jay?
Yeah, the other thing to realize too is this client already had a lot of the infrastructure in place, but we were obviously optimizing and improving it. So in this, whenever you're looking at your marketing strategies as a whole, see what you've got set up. But in this case, traffic generation, lead generation, and email marketing all kind of happened at the same time for a few. Instead of doing this big, gigantic campaign for a full marketing calendar, we really focused on just a couple of those campaigns we talked about: the upfront lead generation and nurture sequence thereafter with email marketing, the exit intent pop up, and the nurture sequence with email marketing after the follow up after that, and then driving traffic specific to those two offers plus a landing page. So we were very intentional. So instead of trying to build this big old huge thing because of the situation, we kind of hyper focused and laser targeted on a few key aspects that the data was telling us that needed to be improved for immediate results, and that's what we did. And and then after that, we kind of peeled back once all that was running and started building out these other systems.
Yeah, so it was a really good experience for us. We're very fortunate to be able to kind of report to you a very successful experience, and yeah, it was we learned a lot from this experience, because it's the first time really I think that many people in the industry had kind of experienced that dramatic trend change in terms of what guests were doing. So it's always good to, you may not have experienced this in 2019, but you may experience it in the future. So all of these things we've talked about in this session today are really should be part of your game plan going forwards. Whether or not you choose to do it yourself, or whether you like to hire somebody, whether you like to talk to us about our big Kahuna service, definitely make this part of a plan to implement some of these strategies going forwards, because then you're actually going to help prevent that panic should you get into the same situation as our client did here. So in regard to the Big Kahuna service, Jason and I always welcome the opportunity to talk with you and have a consultation. We do limit our clients. We're actually almost fully booked right now, and this is in the fall of towards the end of 2019. But if you'd like to find out more information, you can head across to vacationrentalformula.com/DYF. No, DFY. I knew I was going to do that. Yeah, it's /DFY, stands for done for you. So DFY. And you can check out our page there. You can find out a little bit more about the strategy and the system we put into place to kind of have a consultation with you, analyze your business, look to see where we can help you improve, and then we'll take it from there. We can put together a proposal for you based on if you want to hire us to actually do some work for you, or even if you just want the consultation, so we can kind of help point you in the right direction to what we think your business needs, and help you show you where some of the holes are that you might want to patch. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining us over the last hour. We really enjoyed this. This was a great experience for us. Hopefully it was for you. If you do have any questions for us going forwards, you can find us on Facebook. You can check out the Vacation Rental Formula Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Vacation Rental Formula. Just reach out to us on the messenger there, and we'll get right back to you. Or you can email us at support@vacationrentalformula.com, and we can strike up a conversation via email. If you are interested in the Big Kahuna service, go to the vacationrentalformula.com/DFY, and there is a contact form on that page where you can reach out to us for the Big Kahuna service. So Jay, this has been a good year for us.
Yeah, we've definitely learned a lot, and it's been fun to implement these strategies, with property management companies and individual owners alike, because it's really missing in our industry, I think, from a whole, especially as more and more OTAs pop up, and we start relying on those single strings of traffic. That part of what you pay for in an OTA service is that they're their marketing services. So now you take that back in your own hands, and you're able to hone in on your particular market, and build your own list and own contact database of potential guests in the future. So it's exciting. I really enjoy it, and it's been a great year and great session that we've been able to wrap up here.
So thanks very much, guys. Hopefully we'll see you on another session in the future. Until then, enjoy your vacation rental business, and make sure you keep an eye on those analytics, so that way you know how to improve it going forwards. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you on a training again soon.
Thanks, everyone.